Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the virtual candidates forum for Board of Commissioners in Bergen County. We have 4 candidates running for 2 seats on the Board of Commissioners, and I want to thank them for participating in this forum tonight. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. We work to increase understanding of public policy issues and influence public policy through education and advocacy. We welcome women, men, and students as active members. My name is Barbara King, and I'm Vice President of the host, the League of Women Voters of Bergen County. Tonight we have with us a moderator who does not reside in Bergen County to keep her impartial. And she will be explaining the format for this evening's program. We also have a timekeeper who will be showing different colored cards to keep the candidates within the time limits. So now I'd like to turn this over to Marlene Zincaglia, our moderator.
Thank you, Barbara, and welcome. Tonight we have the four candidates running for Bergen County Commissioner, Mr. Ronald Joseph Lynn, Mr. Stephen A. Tonelli, Mr. Timothy Walsh, and Ms. Tracy Silnazur. This program is divided into 3 sections. The first section is an opening statement. The candidates were asked to prepare a 1-minute opening statement. At the end of 30 seconds, they will see a yellow card telling them they have 30 seconds left. And then at the end of the minute, they will see the red card telling them that their time is up to finish their thought. Okay. We will be rotating the responses for questions, and I will tell you when it's your turn to respond. There will be equal numbers of everybody going first or last. I tried to make sure that everybody had an equal chance at all the at least being first, second, third, and fourth. So opening statements is our first order of business, and 1 minute. And Mr. Lynn, you are going first.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this great forum. I think it's a great chance for the voters of Bergen County to get a first feel on where we stand on the important issues that affect all of us. I want to thank Steve and Tracy, and obviously Tim for also joining me. So my name is Ronald Lin. My parents came to this country from Taiwan in 1980. They came to the U.S. because the U.S. is the land of milk and honey. It's the land of great opportunity. So that's why they came here. When they came here, my dad was enrolled in a master's program, and at Stevens Tech, and I was born in '81. When I was born, at that year, Ronald Reagan was our president. So as such, my parents named me Ronald. But, I grew up in Bergen County. I grew up in Fairlawn, went to Warren Point School, went to Thomas Jefferson Middle School, and then I went to, Fairlawn High School. I went to Brandeis University, where I graduated. Oh, time's up already?
Thank you. Yes.
A minute went by quicker than I thought. Okay.
Mr. Tonelli.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this virtual forum. I'd also like to thank the other candidates for participating. My name is Steve Tonelli, and I've served as your Bergen County Commissioner for the past 9 years. I was born and raised in New Jersey, and for the last 33 years, I've called Bergen County home. My wife Sharon and I have 3 adult sons, which we raised in North Arlington, and are blessed to have 2 beautiful grandsons. We are very proud to say that 2 of our sons have continued our family's commitment to public service by serving as police officers. I would not be where I am today without my family's love and support, and for that, I'm very grateful. Growing up in a tight-knit community where neighbors always helping neighbors, I learned from an early age that putting others first and advocating on their behalf. It was this foundation that led me to first get involved in my community as a coach and also to run for council. With their encouragement and support of everyone in North Arlington, I ran for commission seat in 2012 when the county found itself in financial trouble due to mismanagement by both the Republican-controlled county executive and then Freeholder Board. I ran along with my running mate Tracy Zor to change the culture of county government and to get it back on its feet. Over the last 9 years, we've actually done that, passed the first master plan, restored the $6 million in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
we're good.
Mr. Walsh.
And thank you. I want to say thank you to the league for having me tonight. My name is Tim Walsh. I'm a lifelong Bergen County resident, a lifelong patriotic American, a lifelong New York Giants fan, and an all-around nice guy. You know, for the last few years, I've been working behind the scenes on political campaigns, speaking with and organizing voters in Bergen County. And this year, many of the people I speak to are saying they don't know what a county commissioner does. I tell them that it's the new term for freeholder, and they still say they don't know what a freeholder does. And, you know, to be quite frank, looking at the current administration in Hackensack, I'm not sure I totally know what they do either. Businesses are closing, schools are in chaos, people are suffering from the effects of overbearing COVID restrictions, and our current leadership in Hackensack seems to be okay with it and don't think it's their job to stop the buck. I intend to be a leader who focuses on accomplishment, not just re-election, who restores common sense to Bergen County government, who calls out bad policy, whether it comes from Trenton or Washington, and who puts Bergen in a position to set the tone for New Jersey's big-time revival. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Ms. Zur.
You're on mute.
Yeah.
That's the story of the year, isn't it? Thank you, League of Women Voters, and for hosting us tonight and for giving us the opportunity to highlight all that we've done over the past 9 years and what we're going to be doing going forward to continue to make a difference, which county government does every single day. By background, I was born in Bergen County, grew up and went to public school in Bergen County, and have raised my children here in Bergen County. I know full well what an incredible place this is to live, work, and raise a family. I'm an attorney, served as prosecutor and municipal court judge, went back to school and have completed my master's in public administration. But most importantly, I'm a mother of 3, a wife for 28 years, and I'm grateful and inspired by my family. And that includes you two, Mom and Dad, and my sister who are on tonight. Thank you all for all of your support. I don't think any of us could have visualized how we would need to pivot and meet the challenges of this pandemic. I responded by building the Food Security Task Force to feed the 103,000 of our neighbors who were unsure where their next meal was going to come from. And listen, over the past 8 years, Steve and I have done a lot and delivered on every single one of our promises. And over the next 3 years, I promise that I'm going to continue to do my homework, rely on data, listen, and connect the dots between all sectors of our community to bring us back from this pandemic and continue to affect positive change.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we move to the second portion of the program of this evening, and that is questions from the audience, from the residents, I should say. These questions were screened by league members to avoid redundancy, personal attacks, and to make sure that the questions were relevant to the office sought, that of Bergen County Commissioner. Okay, the candidates will have 1.5 minutes to respond to the question. All candidates will be responding to the question if they so desire. At the end, after the 4 candidates respond, there is an opportunity for a 30-second rebuttal. In terms of the timekeeper, again, when you have 30 seconds left in your question response, you will see the yellow card. At the end of 1.5 minutes, you will see the red card. For the rebuttals, all you will get to see is after 30 seconds, the red card to indicate that your time is up. Okay, so the first question, and Mr. Tonelli, you get to answer this one first. The question asks, in your view, what is the biggest issue facing Bergen County at this time? Explain why and what might be done to address it.
So the biggest issue we are facing right now is obviously coming out of the pandemic. So happily to say that thanks to the Democratic controlled commission board and county executive, we were able to save Newbridge Medical Center out from under being sold to where people in this county desperately needed that facility. So what we were able to do is work with the state and work with the federal government to set up a outside hospital that tended to everyone's COVID needs, whether it be testing or vaccinating. And I believe right now we need to continue to stay the course to make sure that any Delta variants does not affect us and that we can start getting back to business. And we've also helped small businesses with with the federal money that came through the county to make sure they were able to help small businesses keep their doors open throughout the pandemic. So as we move forward to come out of this, I think we are poised to be successful.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Lynn.
Okay, well, obviously the pandemic has hit us hard. It's interesting to note that under Democratic rule in Trenton, over 40% of small businesses have shut down in our state. A lot of those small businesses are here in Bergen County, so that is a big issue. Another big issue that affects us all every single year is our high property taxes. Our taxes have gone up every single year. The Democrats have been in power for the past 10 or so years, and every single year taxes go up. But I think the biggest issue that faces us all is the fact that right now in Bergen County, we live in a one-party system. There's no oversight, there's no checks, and there's no balances. And that is the central issue that I think faces us all today.
Thank you. Ms. Zur.
Clearly, the COVID response and our rebounding from what we've just all endured for the last year and a half is at the top of our priorities. As Steve touched on, we pushed out the door $56 million worth of small business support to keep our small businesses doors open, to make sure that our mom and pops were not lost to this pandemic. I formed this food security task force to meet the needs of 103,000 of our residents. We've done rental assistance. We've done so many programs as far as health and safety. We've done so much to make sure that we're meeting all of the needs holistically. And as far as budgeting is concerned, I just want to, Ronald, you answered this in your questions that were in the Bergen record as well. The county budget is 11% of what is your tax bill. We have delivered flat budgets 3 out of the years. We actually delivered a tax cut one of the years that we've been on this board, Steve and I. We prudently go over every single line and deliver accountability to the taxpayers every single day. So that kind of soundbite on your part is really inaccurate for how we have approached government. We have delivered accountability. I view the residents of Bergen County as our checks and balance, but we fight behind closed doors. We make sure that we scrutinize every single action that goes on, and we make sure that every single day, before 2016, when we had Republicans on this board, there was 99.8% of our votes were unanimous. On party lines, not on party lines, unanimous. And the bottom line is every day we keep going forward to deliver for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh.
The biggest issue, the way I see it, is that Bergen County has an unfriendly business climate. I mean, with places like the Nabisco factory closing down that cost us hundreds of jobs, to even smaller businesses like the Fireplace closing down after how many decades in operation. Ramsey Theater in my town closing down after 93 years in operation. I mean, these aren't just minor economic setbacks. This is iconic Bergen County history that we're losing because of bad economic conditions. Because Bergen County doesn't have a single urban enterprise zone and is really underserved by the program that creates opportunity zones. I think that we need better education about what kind of resources there are out there for small businesses. I had an event earlier this year at a restaurant that had to go to Dave Portnoy and Barstool Sports for economic and financial assistance because they weren't getting it from the state or the county. So, right now we have an economic climate that makes it easier for businesses to close their doors than keep them open. And there's so much more we could be doing.
May I rebut?
Can I also respond?
Okay, excuse me. Okay, you'll have a chance to rebut. We'll start, I think, Mr. Tonelli, you said okay, so it'll be Mr. Tonelli, Mr. Lynn, and Ms. Zur. 30 seconds, you'll see the red card.
So really quickly, to bring up Nabisco is just is notorious, because at the end of the day, when we first learned of Mondelez's wanting to close the Nabisco factory, we brought all the stakeholders to the table. But they didn't just move out of the state of New Jersey, they moved out of the country. They're an international company. So to use that as an example of us losing jobs that had nothing to do with Bergen County government or any type of jobs program that the county had to offer. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lynn, 30 seconds.
Yeah, hi. So to go back to Tracy's point on how taxes haven't gone up, it's interesting to note that she also said that these decisions are made behind closed doors, and that's the biggest problem. They're behind closed doors with only one party rule. Now that's no oversight to me. That's no checks and balances. And when every decision is made behind closed doors by one party, that's a big problem.
Ronald, as someone who didn't even come to a single one of our meetings and did not observe the budget being scrutinized line by line, open on television screens for everybody to watch, that's a very interesting accusation. But I really want to respond to the economic development piece. We just last week closed a deal with an Emerge grant from the state of New Jersey to bring Party City to Woodcliff Lake, bringing 700 jobs with an average salary of $91,000 apiece. This is an active economic development division in the county of Bergen. We have an active workforce development board, retraining our workers to meet the 21st century job needs of our residents and of our employers. We've brought in Bog Bag, a maker of beach bags, and South American firm. We do a lot to attract businesses to Bergen County.
Thank you. 30 seconds are up. Thank you.
Explains all the empty storefronts. Sure.
Okay. Moving to the next question. Mr. Walsh, you'll be answering this one first. The question asks, Bergen County, consistent with most of New Jersey, has a highly diverse population comprised of many different cultures and values. Do you think the county's workforce and county leadership positions reflect the diversity of the county's population? And also, what policies, if any, have you supported or will you pursue that strengthen diversity and inclusion in Bergen County?
Listen, I'm very proud to live in such a diverse county. I think it's great to have such a microcosm of so many different cultures coming together in one small area. And in that case, hiring practices at the county level are bound to attract a diverse pool of applicants and a diverse pool of workers just by the fact that they're coming from such a diverse pool of talent. I don't see any reason to abandon merit-based hiring. And I think that we have a great system here that's really conducive to a diverse county government. I mean, you mentioned leaders. I'm not so sure about the diversity of the Board of Commissioners, for instance, but I think it's just a matter of getting the best people in there, and and we end up with a very diverse population.
Thank you. Ms. Zur. Wait, oops. Okay, Ms. Zur, you have to unmute yourself.
So sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
This is why I love Zoom.
Okay, it's your turn to respond to the question about
I
diversity.
didn't hear what Mr. Walsh's answer was because I was on mute, but because I was kicked off. But I can tell you that we have done a lot in Bergen County to make sure that we're embracing our diversity and that we really underscore that it is our strength. We formed an LGBTQ advisory committee, one of the first in the state. We've held 3 consecutive years of LGBTQ youth conference to make sure that our kids throughout our county feel embraced and are able to connect and exchange ideas. We've had so many interfaith meetings, bringing government officials to the table and with our local diverse populations, conducting our first iftar, our first Israeli flag raising, our first Lunar New Year, our first Kwanzaa. The whole point is to make sure that we are reaching out to our community and making sure they are part of the conversation for how government is provided and for what their needs are, and making sure that we're needing them. We have made sure that our government looks like our community, and that includes the Bergen Community College Board, and that includes our administration. It has been something for me. Diversity is a big issue and a big priority. I have been very, very present in the communities and making sure that they all know that they have a seat at the table. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Lin.
Well, the Asian American community is a big part of Bergen County, and I'm proud to say that I'm the first Asian American to be nominated by a major party to run for a county level seat in Bergen County. So I am that change that needs to be there. But to answer Tracy's question before, or her comment as to why I have not been to one board meeting, it's because, you know what, during every single night of the week, I'm out talking to the voters and listening to what they care about. And they're telling me all across the board from every single town that their calls are not being answered. Their questions are not being answered, and I have to be there and I have to listen to all their problems. So that's why I'm not at these meetings, because I'm out there on the ground talking to our voters.
Okay, Mr. Tonelli.
Thank you. So number one is we pride ourselves on our constituent services. We have people that are on the phones pretty much all day. So I don't know, just more fabrication. So one thing that we've taken a great pride in is this board and the county executive have set aside specific contracts for women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses so that we can help build prosperity in those communities. We've also, with this administration, with the clerk, has the first deputy clerk that's Korean, first African-American county administrator that became a judge, federal judge, LGBT flag raisings. This commissioner board is diverse. It's predominantly women, and also has two Latinos on here. And now the Census Bureau basically says it's the largest, our largest minority group. So we have two representatives from that group. So I think that this administration has taken it incredibly seriously. And if you just look around and paid attention, you would see that as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next question. Ms. Zuri, you get to answer this one first. Okay, now, in order to better represent the diverse communities in Bergen County, should commissioners be voted on from districts, distinct districts, instead of county-wide elections as currently occurs?
So I am not a huge supporter of districts, because I think what ends up happening is that we end up pandering, each individual commissioner then ends up only looking out for their district rather than what's in the best interest of the county. I think we've really put forward diverse candidates and made sure that we can, hear from all voices. I think every proposal is, of course, worth looking at, and as it continues to unfold and assessing whether that is a more appropriate form. I see so many other counties who do that. Listen, if that was the case, we'd have a lot less miles on our tires and on our odometers at the end of the year. But the bottom line is to advocate for all of Bergen County and to make sure that we're connecting the dots and seeing best practices in different communities and being able to connect them to each other. By sitting at this level and overseeing and connecting with 70 different towns, we really are able to facilitate that kind of conduit of information and make sure that all of our residents are served.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh.
Well, that's certainly the first time I've heard it framed as a bad thing for a politician to be administering to the needs of his constituents. But I do support the idea of districts. And it's not because Bergen County is so large an area, which it is not so much, just that there's a lot of it. And, certainly the needs of someone in Mahwah, Ramsey, or the Saddle Rivers are not going to be the same priorities of someone who lives in Cliffside Park or Fort Lee. I think it's just sort of self-explanatory that Bergen County is such a diverse combination of cultures coming together, that these areas are distinct. These areas do have their own individual sets of issues. And I think districts would be a very good idea. The Northern Valley, certainly, if you want a microcosm of it, just look at their school boards, where the Northern Valley School Board talks about, they talk about curriculum issues, and school boards in the urban areas talk more about infrastructure like HVAC. I know that's not exactly a commissioner thing. That's just an example of how diverse these areas are.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Tonelli.
So each commissioner is assigned to certain committees and certain boards where they sit on and they represent the commission board on. So I certainly believe that the way it currently exists with the commissioners that are in place, we have a variety of people that cover to span most of the county as it is. And with our committee assignments and our boards that we sit on, we each have different responsibilities. We have an overall responsibility to the entire county and to all the constituents, but then we also have it narrowed down to what we actually are responsible for and what we bring to the other commissioners. So the way it's constructed now, by that being the case, when we meet, we all discuss what's going on around the entire county with the different programs. So I think that the way it is situated now is fine. I think that at large is much better, to Tracy's point, where we don't have people just campaigning for what they want in their areas. I believe we need to look at it as an overall county, just like the Parks Master Plan identified things. The Parks Master Plan is a perfect example how a group of people can work together for the betterment of the entire county and all 70 municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lynn.
Sure. Well, the current makeup of the commissioner board, as I mentioned, is 7-0 Democrats. And there's only one reason why Democrats want to keep the way that they don't want this type of district voting, because it will threaten their grip on power. If that were to happen, and as Tim said, there are issues and wants that South Bergen has that, you know, parts in like Northern Bergen don't, right? So I think it's important to take a look at this plan. And if it is the best possible plan for the people, we should certainly, we should take it on.
Can I just rebut for 1 second?
Well, you have 30 seconds, but go ahead.
Thank you so much. This isn't an issue of party power. This is an issue of making sure that no region is favored over another region. And that's really the bottom line. It's making sure that we're all in it together. You know, gerrymandering, we've seen how just so fabulous that is at the congressional level, and how it causes these lines to be drawn that are so arbitrary. The bottom line is every single day we're acting on behalf of what's best for all of our county residents. And that really needs to be the focus. You want to take care of some provincial issues in different towns? Great, that's great for the town government to do. But at the county level, we need to be worried about everyone.
Thank you. Okay, next question, Mr. Lynn, you get to answer it first. Can you explain if and how a variety of cultural organizations receive funding or support from the county to preserve their heritage and culture? Have Asian American organizations in particular been denied funds?
Yes, I have heard from numerous groups that Asian American groups have contacted the county on several occasions for funds, and they have not been responded with. So I think that's very, very, shameful. That's shameful. The Asian American community has contributed a lot to, Bergen County, and I think they deserve some type of funding to show their culture and all that, they have done. I think the current freeholder board, the county board, right? They only go around to these minority groups when it comes time for voting. They ask them for their votes, they get their votes, and afterwards, they don't hear from them. And I don't think that's how the county should be run. I don't think that's how anything should be run. We respect the people who vote for us. We respect those who live in our county, and everything must be done within our power to make sure that they are respected and they are listened to.
Thank you. Ms. Zur.
First of all, if you looked at my Facebook feed and bothered to, you would see that every single night of every single week of every single year, not just when I'm up for election, I am at so many different cultural celebrations in such diverse communities throughout Bergen County. I view that not just as a responsibility, but as my privilege, because I get to learn and grow from all the diversity that we see in the county. I've been to filial piety society events within the Korean community and Kwanzaa events in the African American community. That's what we do. That is part of our job. But what is not part of our job is doling out dollars to different cultural groups. If there is a need, like we did with the Korean American Community Center in Tenafly, where they're running an autism program, which is something which fits under the county purview and it's eligible for county funding, we are more than happy to support it. And we have. But if it's just, that is not the role of the county. That is the role of our nonprofits. That is our role of our philanthropic community and the individual cultural communities to support their own cultural events. We run flag raisings. We do we've celebrated every country's history and so many different, we have an Asian advisory committee and an African American advisory committee and a Latino advisory committee, all of which that kind of bring those voices to the table and make sure that those events are celebrated and that those cultures are respected. And those, more importantly, those needs are advocated in the way that the county provides its service. But the role of the county if you understood how county government works, is not to just be a piggy bank for local organizations like that.
Thank you. Okay.
Can I respond?
No, wait, everybody has to
Okay.
answer the question first. So Mr. Walsh,
I don't have quite as much information on this as the others seem to, but I guess what I would say is that, I'm not crazy about the idea of our county government favoring some cultures over other cultures, when ultimately, we should be talking about a single American culture. But I do understand that a lot of these groups have specific issues that need addressing, and I'd be willing to help. It just, it depends on how we do it.
thank you. Mr. Tonelli, unmute yourself before responding.
Thank you. Didn't even realize I was on mute. So I honestly don't understand the root of this question. Nobody just hands money to anyone. Are they looking, is it a matter of, do they deserve grant funding for programs along the lines of what Tracy said? We have community development individuals such as Ludi Hughes, who works with every single Asian American group. You have met her several times with the Chinese American Fort Lee Club throughout the pandemic. We celebrate diversity in this county, and those individuals are our connection with all of these groups if there is a need for any assistance. But I don't think there's any groups that we just automatically are going to give county funding to unless it's coming through grants. We do work with numerous organizations with utilizing county facilities like Overpeck County Park for all of their festivals. I mean, that they work in conjunction with the county all year, every year, like many, many groups. So that I don't understand like what funding we are talking about. That's why this question to me, I don't understand exactly what funding we're talking about, but obviously it was a planted question.
Mr. Lin, you have 30 seconds to rebut if you so desire.
I know. I was just going to say that, I don't expect the county to just give out money to all these different groups, but at least when these groups, reach out, they ought to be answered to.
And they are.
Okay.
Not for people that reach out to
Excuse
me.
me, we're not doing a back and forth. We're moving on to the next question. And that question is, what steps, Mr. Tonelli, you get to answer this one first. What steps do you suggest to increase the use and availability of public transit, especially needed and used by senior citizens and those of low or moderate incomes, as well as the benefit it may have on the environment by reducing car emissions and traffic?
So I'm happy to say that the county has been in the works with the Hackensack bus loop with a new modern building that would enable the busiest New Jersey Transit bus hub to have an actual new home where people could actually utilize it, aren't afraid to be outside at night. It would be a monitored, patrolled operation. We also would have electric charging stations, which feeds right into New Jersey Transit's plan to bring in electric buses versus gas buses. We've also, in our county parks, have put charging stations so far at Van Saun by the zoo, also in Overpeck County Park. We are modernizing our fleet to where we're including electric cars in the county's fleet as well. So we are taking the environmental issues seriously, and we're starting to transition accordingly.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh.
Well, I mean, it's like this: more jobs, more commuters, more ridership, more money in the transit system. I hate to sound like I'm changing the subject, but the fact is that creating more jobs is what leads to greater demand for the transit system and allows us the money to make upgrades to it. If New York City isn't going to do their part by relieving the economic stress, then again, we should be doing that here by having policies that create jobs, create the need for transportation, and create more money to pay for these additional services that are very necessary.
Ms. Zur.
You're also at one of the parts of that question, I believe, addressed seniors and those who have difficult commuter needs. We've been and specifically during this pandemic, didn't miss a beat with our community transportation department, which makes sure that our seniors who do not have the ability to drive are able to get to doctor's appointments, that no one misses a dialysis appointment. It also gets those with disabilities to work, et cetera. And so that department has been certainly something that we have expanded and made more accessible to those clients and those residents who need that service. Steve mentioned the jitney service, but we're doing constantly, looking at how we, the biggest challenge has been, it's been easier to get out of New Jersey to Manhattan than it has been to get around it. And that's why things like Bergen Hudson Light Rail are so critical. And we are continuing to push forward and push in Trenton to get that project done and funded. That's why when the tunnel project in New York City was killed by Governor Christie, it was devastating. We need to make sure we get this Gateway project over the finish line so that our commuters who rely upon that area are getting and able to get into New York City through that Gateway tunnel. It is not just if you build it, they will come, that business is what drives it. Very often it is other development and our housing and the way that we've invested in making sure like Hackensack and others, Garfield and others have access to community development block grants and other funding streams to make sure that they're providing for good transportation that also attracts people who want to live in that community and work in that community as well. So it is a give and take. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Lynn.
Could you repeat the question again?
Sure. The question asks, what steps do you suggest to increase the use and availability of public transit, especially needed and used by senior citizens and those of low or moderate incomes, as well as the benefit it may have on the environment by reducing car emissions and traffic?
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say I was at an event, I want to say a couple of weeks ago in Mawa. I was speaking to a lady who is visually, she is impaired. And she relies on one of the county services, the county commuter rails to get to where she needs to go. And she was telling me, she was complaining to me how that service is defunct. She's been waiting for hours every single day and she can't get to where she needs to go. And she is someone who literally cannot drive. So this is the kind of service that she needs. And unfortunately, it's the kind of service right now in Bergen County that is not up to par. So I think that those are, things that then, need to be, worked on. And as Tim said, we need jobs in Bergen County. If there are jobs, people have places to go. So unless we can address the jobs problem right now in Bergen County, there are over 34,000 people that are unemployed, right? So why don't we take care of those people first, make sure that they have jobs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I respond as a rebuttal for just 2 seconds? I'm sorry.
Okay.
I won't even use the full 30.
Okay.
COVID had a really devastating impact on our community transportation and the fact that new social distancing had to be put into place. And we've not definitely, while there are struggles, we're working to fight through them every single day. Our drivers and our community transportation department is working to its maximum to try and meet a burgeoning need. So many more seniors are relying upon this service. And if that woman is having a problem, I encourage you to have her call me because I will make sure that we address it. Thank you. That's what constituent service is.
Okay, Mr. Tinelli.
Can I just comment?
No, wait,
Okay,
okay,
go ahead.
first Mr. Tinelli and then you.
Just to build on what Tracy was saying. So when the senior centers in Bergen County, where sometimes it could be the only nourishing meal that our seniors get in their daily routine, when the senior centers closed, the seniors had nowhere to get that meal, and the county stepped up and delivered thousands and thousands of healthy, nourishing meals to the seniors by ramping up their truck service. So I understand there may have been a lapse in one area, but I will tell you that the county has taken care of its seniors in ways that we never thought that we would have to.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
And I just wanted to throw in a comment that I do also support the projects that Tracy mentioned, such as the Gateway Tunnel, the light rail. I did a lot of talking about the Gateway Tunnel last year when I was talking to voters in the 9th district. And I think the only issue is that people might not have confidence that it's going to be done in a fiscally responsible way. I would be more than happy to see those projects get accomplished and in the right way.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next question, Mr. Lynn, you get to answer this first. And the question is, What policies, if any, would you support to increase the amount of affordable housing in Bergen County?
Well, affordable housing in Bergen County, I think it needs to be done on a town by town basis. There are certain projects that are forced upon towns, like in Upper Saddle River, that really shouldn't be there. People move to these towns because they like the way that the town looks, and it has a certain feel, and it's not fair to the people of that town, in which there's just huge building that's being built there, right? And for the people that are in these housings too, it's not fair to them too, right? Because then they're not comfortable there. So I think there needs to be a lot of things done in terms of this issue, but I think you need to bring it to the actual towns. The people of the towns know best what's good for that town, not for the county.
Thank you. Mr. Tonelli.
So that brings me really quickly back to our transportation with the bus depot that we're building, that's going to have work-oriented housing, where people that have lower end jobs, or a brand new teacher, or a law enforcement officer that's just getting on the job, that needs a rent controlled environment where they'll be able to live. I mean, Mount Laurel decision, I support the Mount Laurel decision in some regards, but there's also a stipulation in the revised phase 2 that I wasn't happy with. Some towns are completely built out and there aren't areas to build affordable housing, and that the component where towns were able to offer funding from the developer to other communities that had space to build was a detriment to those communities that could have really used the low-income housing. So I believe in Mount Laurel decision. I just would wish that they would go back to allowing communities that are completely built out, that end up getting a requirement that they would be able to fund building low-income housing in communities that really could use it.
Mr. Walsh.
I can appreciate the point Ron made there when he was saying, about why do people want to live in these towns. I think if I told you that I wanted to live in Saddle River, you would assume I wanted to live in one of those nice mansions, not in some small apartment that's on the site of Rosie O'Donnell's old house. But the issue, I think, to me is, again, that these large infrastructure projects are being forced on towns that really don't have, that really don't have a good way of preparing for them. You look at places like Park Ridge, like Emerson, which are, small, quaint, out-of-the-way towns that are now facing the prospect of large eyesore housing developments going up right in the middle of a peaceful Main Street, and all this being done under the guise of, abiding by the affordable housing laws. I think that, again, this should be done on a town-by-town basis, or this should be done with more of, the town's capacity of what they can do kept in mind, because what we're seeing is overwhelmed infrastructure like sewage, transportation. They're not prepared for all the extra traffic, for all the extra students in their schools. Affordable housing, obviously very important. There are a lot of places in Bergen County where we would be able to build a great deal of affordable housing, but not everywhere has the same capability of putting it up. And I really think this whole issue should be re-examined from square one.
Thank you.
Not saying it's easy, but we may have to.
So I want to clarify that this is not a county issue. That this is an issue of municipalities, and this is an issue between the state government. County government has virtually nothing to do with affordable housing. What we do for affordable housing, though, is get rid of this boogeyman specter of what affordable housing is. Affordable housing enables us to have housing for those with disabilities. We have supported with community development block grants, creation of wonderful disabled housing. Go look at Allendale at Crestwood Commons, where we just christened something in Ridgewood, right at where the Seal Funds building used to be, which is going to house, a group home and individual apartments for those with unique abilities, giving them access to the libraries and to the parks and to wonderful job opportunities within Ridgewood. So we provide disabled veterans housing, which we did in Emerson. Emerson, and Paramus. This enables those who've given the most sacrifice for our country to be able to be treated with dignity, which has been a huge priority for this administration, for our Board of Commissioners, making sure that we're ending veterans homelessness within Bergen County, making sure that we're giving those who risk their lives the dignity of putting their head on the pillow. So affordable housing, as far as the county's involvement in it, is making sure that we are serving those who are most at need, and making sure that that our children who are uniquely abled can have independence as adults in our community and be able to continue to stay here. It's making sure that our veterans have an opportunity to continue to live in this community and have the respect that they deserve. So that's what affordable housing is from Bergen County's perspective.
Thank you.
Can I
Okay,
just say, I mean, you know, this is where I would say, you know, let's take the position as county government of, you know, stepping in and negotiating with COA on behalf of the municipalities. And, you know, a lot of these who are getting sued.
It is not the
and may
role.
not have the
Excuse me,
resources to
Ms.
spend on
Zur.
them. Yeah, because it's what I said about, you know, let's make it our responsibility if it's not, because we could do a lot of good as a county government.
Okay, moving to the next.
May I rebut now?
Yes.
All right, thank you. We are doing a lot of good. We are doing a lot of good by using the federal dollars that we have to make impacts where we can. This is not where this brokering of agreement, it's legal battles have been fought on this. This is ongoing discussions in our courts. This would distract us from the business of what we're doing in the county. Thank you.
What'd you do for the small
Excuse me
businesses
that
in
you
Emerson that
rebutted
got
once.
evicted
Excuse
to
me,
build
Mr.
this thing?
Walsh, please. Okay, moving
Can I
to the
just say,
next.
can I have 30 seconds? Can I have
Yes.
30 seconds? Also?
Okay, Mr. Lynn.
So I think it's good that Tracy and Steve want to help all the you know, veterans, right? That's a good thing. But I hope that the Democrats would also show more support for our men who are in law and order. The Democrats of today, especially on the you know, national level in Bergen County, they don't back the blue, and I think that's a shame because, as Tracy said, these are the people who protect us every single day. So when they put their head down, you know, they need to know that they have the support of our politicians. Unfortunately, today, the only politicians that support them are the Republicans.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tonelli, you are the last speaker on this question.
Thank
30
you.
seconds.
Well, I happen to have two kids that are on the job that put the uniform on every day, that I worry about every night when they go to work. So to say that I don't back the blue and that I'm not concerned with the blue and to bring national issues into a county debate is disgraceful. So I want you to know that I have the blues back and I support my sons and everyone that works with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, Mr. Tonelli, you get to go first. And the question asks, what policies, if any, would you support to improve the care for aging parents and seniors in Bergen County?
So right now, Bergen County, because of our work with Newbridge Medical Center, now offers better care for aging communities, to where if people need assisted living or if they're looking for a place to retire and go to get the medical care that they need, they don't have to travel. Most instances when people need medical care when they're alone and they're aged, they have to be transported. Bergen Newbridge gives them the ability to have it right there on the premise and get top quality medical attention.
Thank you. Mr. Lynn.
I think our senior citizens, like my parents, like, you know, Tim's parents, like all of us, they deserve the best, right? And I
You told me you said that.
and I certainly support every measure out there that is put in place to you know, help them. You know, when I get into office, there's going to be 3 departments that I won't touch, right? Public safety and public works and our health services. These are services that are vital for the residents of you know, Bergen County, regardless of what age you know, they are. So I certainly support every measure that's out there to help our you know, seniors.
Thank you. Ms. Zur.
The Republican administration that was in power when Steve and I came on board cut the funding for our senior centers. They cut the funding for consumer affairs, which dealt with fraud that was largely perpetrated against our seniors. And that's been a priority for both of us to restore, to make sure that our 24 senior centers that we run and operate have the support not only to continue to provide what's very often their only hot meal in the course of the day, but also recreation and engagement. The isolation, especially within the last year and a half, we're so happy that our senior centers are back open again and are having activities to be able to keep our seniors still engaged. But when it comes to aging in place, we have been tremendously active in putting forward policies. And that's why our community transportation, critical. That's why our engagement with our municipalities, so that they're also providing senior busing, and very often in situations, is very vital. But it's also making sure that their basic needs are met every single day. We have a very, it's not just the senior picnic once a year where we get folks together. It is constantly working with our seniors to meet their social recreation, their technology needs. Has been a huge lack for so many of our seniors, especially during this pandemic, and making sure that we're keeping them connected and keeping them engaged so that they can age here and continue to be part of our community is most definitely a priority of this administration and of this board.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh.
Well, in terms of what we can do for senior citizens, and I'm going to have to get a little harsh here, frankly, maybe start by not killing them. I mean, investigate Governor Murphy's executive order that forced nursing homes and long-term care facilities to accept COVID patients. I can't understand the logic behind an executive order that required COVID patients to be housed along with the most vulnerable members of the population in terms of our senior citizens. That resulted in countless deaths at the Paramus Veterans Home, at Newbridge, at other long-term care facilities, preventable deaths. And I just don't understand if Steve and Tracy think that was a good idea or think it was appropriate. I certainly don't. I think it was disastrous, and I would hate to think that senior citizens were used to create a political point, but some people are getting that idea.
Ms. Zur.
The one who's trying to make a political point out of our seniors and their tragic deaths throughout COVID is you, Mr. Walsh, at this point. But I want to let you know, first of all, the Veterans Home was not under our control or our auspices. And our hospital did so much to keep our residents safe.
Once again, not my problem.
All of this.
Okay.
But I'm trying to focus you on what county issues are and what the seat that you're running for actually does and where our scope of government
Okay,
is.
we are rebutting the question, and if we can move on to the next one. It also has to do.
But I just want to make it clear, as one who's been very active in pushing out vaccinations and testing throughout this entire pandemic, that our seniors and their lives have been at the top utmost priority for all of us.
Thank you.
And
Okay,
can I also rebut?
yes.
Just to further elaborate on Tim's point, to be clear, over 8,000 senior citizens have died as a result of Governor Murphy's mandate. So, that's a point that should sink in.
Pull it
Okay.
out is all I'm saying.
The next question deals with the Bergen Newbridge Medical Center. And Mr. Walsh, you get to answer this question first. And it asks, how well is the county's Bergen Newbridge Medical Center fulfilling its mission? Are there improvements or enhancements you would like to see achieved, short and long term? If yes, in what areas?
Was that for me or Steve? Steve lit up.
No, that's for you,
Okay.
Mr. Walsh. You're answering this first.
No, I mean, otherwise, in the overall scope of things, I don't have a problem with what Bergen Newbridge is doing. I actually happen to think they're doing a lot for, people who struggle with drug addiction. And I'm even hearing some good things about mental health services. So to be honest, I don't have much to say about this question. And I certainly would like to support Bergen Newbridge in the positive things that they are doing and not being forced to do by the governor.
Mr. Tonelli.
So I'm glad to hear, Mr. Walsh, you feel that way, because we feel that way as well. Prior to Tracy and I joining the board, the Republican administration and Freeholder board was doing everything they could to sell that hospital and take away the safety net that so many thousands of people in Bergen County count on every day. So I want to commend the Newbridge staff and the county executive for everything they did over the last year and a half with the pandemic, whether it was the field hospital, the testing, the mobile testing, the mobile vaccination sites, how everyone came together in this crisis was unbelievable. And they all need to be commended. And that's because the Democratic controlled county commissioners and the county executive saved that hospital. And now that hospital is thriving with the certifications, medical examiner, Rutgers partnership with Rutgers University. So instead of selling it, we have now converted it into being a state-of-the-art facility where our residents get the best care that they need. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lynn?
Yeah, once again, I have to agree with my three fellow friends here that I think that was a great thing. And I think that mental health is something that every party, I mean, this should not be a partisan issue, right? Mental health and the safety of our citizens is something that we should all agree on. So I think that facility is a very good thing. And that's one of the good things that the current board has done. They've done a lot of things that weren't so good though. I mean, like just for example, and this is just part of the overarching problem with a one-party system, right? Just last year, the county budget went up by $200 million. Now, can you explain to me why it went up by $200 million in a pandemic year when all government services were closed and kids had to stay at home for schooling?
Okay. Ms. Zur, your answer to the question.
I won't have to rebut because she'll answer.
Okay.
It went up because we were dealing with the pandemic and on unprecedented services that we needed to provide, but it also was the utilization and reflecting of the federal dollars that came through the county budget. That was not on the backs of Bergen County taxpayers. That was with the infusion of the federal government dollars reflected in the county budget, which is understandable, right, Ronald? The bottom line is I'm really thrilled to hear your support and endorsement of the work and the hard decisions that we made to keep this hospital. I chair the hospital advisory board, which was now analyzing the value that this had. And thank God we were prescient and had good judgment. And that's one of the key things when you're electing folks to these offices, it's the judgment. And we showed that as we saved this hospital, kept it as a vital tool, not only in our battle against COVID, but in our battle against opioids. I pushed for there to be from 52 beds to 80 beds to have larger, we're facing this huge, we had over 406 overdoses, 106 opioid deaths so far. We're looking, the American Academy of Pediatrics today just came out indicating that there's a national emergency in children's mental health. This hospital is so vital in dealing with the overarching issues that are impacting mental health throughout the county. And Debbie Visconti and the entire team there are superheroes. And I am so grateful to all of our staff and our team there who has made sure that our residents have stayed safe throughout this pandemic, as they have been definitively on the front lines. And more importantly, are going to continue to be on the front lines in this mental health epidemic that we're going to be seeing as well.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Tonelli, a rebut.
So, Ronald, to get back to Tracy's point earlier, if you had been at any of the budget meetings or you had been to any of the Freeholder meetings, you would have realized that the initial budget that we passed did not include that $200 million. And it wasn't until the state recommended that we restructure the way the budget is because they wanted it in the line item where it now resides. So you would have known that the budget did not go up $200 million. That it was just a bookkeeping issue with the state money or the federal money that we received. So thank you.
Okay, can I also rebut?
Absolutely.
All right, you can say what you want, but the figures are the figures and the facts are the facts. The current budget for Bergen County for fiscal year 2021 is $750 million. When you guys came into office in 2012, I believe the budget was like 500 million, and in 2015 it was $530 million. 2020 is $550 million. 2021, $750 million. So the facts are there. Those are the figures. And look, ever since you guys came into office, you cannot deny this. Taxes have gone up every single year.
Okay,
Our
thank
county
you.
budget have gone up every single year.
The time
You
is up.
can't beat
The
that.
next question deals with the budget, so I think we can just move to that question, because it talks about what priorities, and Ms. Zur, you get to answer this question first. What priorities would you like to see in the next budget for the county? Is there any specific department or agency that you would consider particularly in need of attention? And if so, why?
So let me just backtrack for a moment. While the budget may have gone up, the tax levy is what is critical. It's what Bergen County taxpayers are paying. We've delivered in the past years that Steve and I have been on the board two zeros and a tax cut, and then we had 2 years that have been impacted by COVID. We have been engaged in fiscal management that Moody's and Fitch, which has given us a AAA bond rating, has said has been so fiscally prudent. And so the bottom line is, at the end of the day, we are ever mindful of the bottom of the taxpayers and their needs. As far as where we're going to see implications, I definitely see mental health as being something that is going to require some attention. And we're definitely going to be utilizing some of the federal dollars that have come to us through the American Rescue Plan to address some of those needs, and also food security. We are still dealing, we dealt with a 71% increase in food insecurity throughout this pandemic. That meant 103,000 of our neighbors didn't have enough food to eat. And we're going to make sure that those food pantries have the infrastructure that they need to go on to serve our community, and not only just be ready for, bail out of the long coattails of this economic challenge, but be prepared for whatever comes our way. We saw with Hurricane Ida, the food needs and the emergency response were something that were certainly necessary, and we are going to continue to be able to allocate resources in those directions. But the bottom line is, I want you to be very clear and understand this, that we have—
Okay, your time is up. Thank you. We'll be moving on to Mr. Walsh.
Well, I mean, if it's federal dollars that you're looking for to, help with these budget increases, then I don't know why the freeholders walked away from the negotiating table with ICE and let that contract expire. That was $10 million a year. I don't see a plan to replace that. And I certainly don't see the benefit to a symbolic decision like that being worth the loss of all that money. $40 million over the last 4 years. Come on now.
Mr. Tonelli.
I'm gonna have to talk fast. I have a lot to cover. So I think we need to continue to support mental health services, education, our senior services, and our veteran services, all stuff that was cut by the previous administration. Ronald, I don't know why you can't grasp this. We just got done explaining to you that 200 million is not in our budget. It did not increase.
Can we just deal with the issues and not personalities? Please just make your point.
And then I'd like to just discuss the ICE. First of all, you absolutely are not knowledgeable about it. It wasn't a contract. It was an agreement between the sheriff and the marshal department, not the county. And the agreement is still in place. They're not receiving any ICE detainees any longer, but the rate has now increased, and he's still receiving federal inmates. So there will be no loss of revenue. I'm sure you watched the debate last month on Monday. You would have realized that.
Mr. Lynn needs to respond to the question.
Okay, where do I even begin? Okay, first of all, the budget has increased by $200 million. I don't care how many times you explain it to me. That's what it says on the budget. You can look it up. Go to the Bergen County website. All the budgets are posted there for every single year. And for fiscal year 2021, the budget is up by $200 million. $750 million is the budget for 2021. That's not a lie. It's complete fact. Secondly, a couple of years ago, a new county building was built to Bergen County Plaza. That cost us $80 million. $80 million. All right. One Bergen County Plaza is there. It's a new building. It's a perfectly good building. But you know what? That goes to the broader point that there's no oversight. When there's no oversight, this money is getting spent left and right. Money that doesn't need to be spent. There's a bridge in Mawa at the Deer Haven, right? There's this bridge there that could have been fixed up for $400,000, $500,000. But because we have only one party in charge, guess what? They're building a completely new bridge that's going to cost us $5 million. This is the type of wasteful spending that occurs when there's only one party rule. In terms of the ICE contract, right? This is just another example of how the Democratic Party today have bowed to the woke left mob. They didn't like that contract because they don't want to house the federal detainees, right? They didn't like that, so they canceled that contract. So now they say that, oh, well, we have a new contract, right, with the U.S. Marshal Service. But what's going to happen when in 2 weeks the woke left mob come and tell you we don't like that contract either?
Okay, thank you. Time's up.
Can I rebut, please?
Yes.
Thank you. First of all, Two Bergen County Plaza was started and financed under Kathy Donovan and the Republican-led Board of Freeholders at the time. That the funding for that was put into place long before Steve and I got there. So it was Republican decisions that put that building, and thank God they did, because we were burgeoning at the seams. The prosecutor's office was in dilapidated headquarters, but even more than that, I want to get to the ICE contract for 1 second because I only have 30 seconds. We've negotiated a better rate. The sheriff decided that there was not efficient to continue to operate the way that the jail was operating. And we're also in conversations with another county about potential shared services that we're reviewing, which will be even more lucrative. So the bottom
Thank you. Time's up. Mr. Tonelli.
So really quickly, Two Bergen County, you're right. It's a beautiful building. Parking deck is beautiful. It was completely mismanaged until the new county executive took over. So if you've done your homework and got the research prior to us taking it over, and after we took it over, you'll see how financially feasible what was done while we were in control versus the mismanagement prior to us taking control. Thank you.
Okay, what about that $5 million bridge?
Okay, you're not at.
This is my 30-second rebuttal, though, right?
No, the questions come from the residents, and I ask the questions. There's no cross questioning in this forum, in this format. Okay, moving to the next question. And Mr. Lynn, you get to answer it first. The question talks about shared services. Do you think shared services can result in an improvement of services and a reduction of expenditures at the county and municipal level? If you do, how can use of more shared services be encouraged? If you don't, why not? And please give examples of what would be your top priority areas for additional shared services.
Look, I'm a Republican. As such, I believe in fiscal spending and conservative fiscal spending, and I believe in all measures that would help that process, right? So shared services, if it's going to help us save money, then I'm all for it. I think when the Bergen County Sheriff's Office and the county police, when they merged, I thought that was a very good thing, right? We saved a lot of money there, but I hate to sound like a broken record, but I have to hammer in the point again that we have no oversight. All this talk about shared services, the ICE contracts, and all this is all great. But the problem is, the biggest overarching problem that affects every single thing that we're talking about is the fact that there's no oversight. There's no checks and balances. The Democratic Party that's in control right now on the county and every single level, they can virtually do whatever they want, as Tracy said, behind closed doors. So when that happens, the other party and the people of our county, we have no way to see what's going on. If we have questions, we can't ask it. If we have complaints, we can't voice it. So that's why it's so important for me and Tim to get in there to ask those questions for our residents and for the people who live in this beautiful county.
Thank you. Ms. Zur, you go next.
Thank you. First of all, once again, I'm glad that you're complimenting the realignment, as I chair that realignment panel, and Steve and I pushed forward that realignment to save taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars, and more importantly, have more efficient and effective law enforcement with less duplication of services. So thank you for acknowledging that work that we've done. We have done so much, and I'm so proud of our record on shared services. We have over 548 shared service agreements with all 70 towns and boards of education throughout the county as well, doing things like cooperative purchasing of energy and snow plowing and loaning and streamlining the loaning of equipment and mechanical services. We have 39 towns and boards of eds that have under contract with us for mechanical services. Shared services are the only way that we're going to get to the point where we're streamlining government even more further. And we've offered millions of dollars of tax savings, not just at the county level, but for municipal governments as well, utilizing our III bond rating for, to enable them to take advantage of that to finance projects for them has been invaluable in saving municipal taxpayers millions of dollars. And so, as we look at things like 911 dispatch and other things that the county can do, we want to encourage more and more towns to partner with us, partner with each other, and really think outside the box about how we innovate for shared services. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh.
Shared services has been kind of a tricky issue for me to come up with the right take on. I mean, certainly I can see the benefit, from a financial standpoint, if I were just looking at numbers on a spreadsheet. to increasing it and doing it more. But, then of course there's the issue of home rule, and you wouldn't want people to feel that they're getting that taken away. Certainly a county like Bergen with 70 towns where you can drive through 5 towns in 10 minutes, you would need to have some degree of it. But I think that this should all be coming from the towns. That's the, this is the one thing I have to say, is that it should be done on a case-by-case basis. It should be up to the towns to tell us when they need it. As is happening right now in South Jersey, where the small town of Pine Valley is re-merging with Pine Hill, and completely merging their government in that case. And what I'm remembering is that a couple of years ago, there was this map produced by some state agency that redrew the borders of some Bergen County towns, showing how they could combine to save money. And people got kind of alarmed because they thought that was a proposal that was going to be forced on them, or that could be if it were to be voted on. On this one, we would have to respect the wishes of the individual towns, the people in those towns, and make sure we're not interfering with home rule.
Thank you. Mr. Tonelli.
So you're exactly right, and that's what we do. I mean, shared service has been a benchmark. I would love to address some of the things that Ronald mentioned in his thing, but it was so ludicrous that there's no response to it. This administration has talked to municipalities. Our BCIA, the financial arm of the Freeholder Board, works with helping communities bond and saving using our AAA bond rating. We save millions of dollars for communities that come to us and ask us to help them. Boards of Educations. We have 911 dispatch for 15 towns, 911 for 10 towns, 21 towns on the county trunk radio system. 18 towns utilize our public safety cloud and record management. The county regional SWAT team and K9 units respond to help in all 70 municipalities, as well as a false multiplier. We have shared services, including consumer protection, where we partner with Passaic, where Bergen County actually it's a profit center for Bergen County, where we work collectively with Passaic and handle their cases as well, which has been very successful. Thank you.
I have 30 seconds.
30 seconds, yes.
All right. I just like to say that there's nothing ludicrous about wasteful spending. There's nothing ludicrous about ever increasing taxes. Can I just say this? Bergen County, we are the richest county in this state, right? So we ought to have a AAA rating. I don't think it's fair for the county commissioners to kind of take credit for that. But listen, Bergen County, we have the 3rd highest property taxes in the entire country. The entire country. New Jersey as a whole has the highest property taxes in the entire country. So to paint this rosy picture that everything is fine in Bergen County and that taxes are like going down, that's a flat out lie.
Okay, thank you. It'll either be Mr. Tonelli or Ms. Zur. So shoot it out. Which one wants to do the rebuttal?
Either, or we both can't get 30 seconds?
No.
What if I take 5 seconds? All I want to say is you're running for the wrong office, because if you actually looked at your county, your tax bill, the predominant tax increase and your largest portion is the municipal tax increase. Your county taxes have not increased, so you're running for the wrong office.
My statement was that the county taxes.
Excuse me, you've had a chance to rebut. Now we move to the next question. Mr. Tonelli, you get to answer that first. And the question asks, while Bergen County holds recycle events, they are poorly publicized. Passaic County advertises these events in the record. What can Bergen County do to make the citizens of the county more aware of recycling events within the county?
So I know currently the county offers their schedule out to all municipalities, get notified when the recycling is going to be, so that the local towns can notify their residents. We also have it posted on our website. If there's additional things that people would think that we should do to get it out, we certainly are not going to send out a reverse 911 and bother every resident of Bergen County to tell them that we're doing a recycling program. If people need to recycle, like myself, I log on to the county website and I get the schedule and I'm able to utilize that service.
Thank you. Mr. Lynn.
Recycling is very important. I think we ought to all do it, right? But I think, once again, if there are, bad systems in place on how to get these programs out, it's because there's no other voice in there to kind of give our input on what to do. We have a 7-0 Democrat county board, right? There's no oversight. There's no accountability. There's no checks and balances. And, Tracy, you can laugh, but I mean, that's the truth. We have no oversight. And, when a $5 million bridge is being built when it can be fixed for $500,000, that's laughable. And that's also sad. And that's something that you guys are, you're in charge of that. And to go back to, Steve's point, Bergen County does have the third highest property taxes in the entire country. That is true. Look it up. And I am running for the correct office, which is why I cited the fact that Bergen County has the third highest property taxes in the country. Look, 35,000 people in our county right now are unemployed. They're unemployed. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that a lot of those small businesses that shut down during the pandemic are in Bergen County. Now, all of this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the mandatory lockdowns and shutdowns imposed by our governor and by our county. You can blame it on the state, but by and large, this is a one-party state, a one-party system, and these bad policies come from that one party.
Ms. Zur.
I'm going to answer your question, which was about the recycling and getting the word out. The last recycling event that was had at Bergen Community College, the line went around all the way down past Biagio's and was like an hour long. The utilization of our recycling events has been tremendous because we are getting the word out. I don't accept that premise. We are doing more and more as far as recycling styrofoam, having recycling styrofoam events, working with our hubs in different communities to bring more recycling to the table. I'm a big reduce, reuse, recycling person. And and we're making sure that we're doing things like energy audits and LED lights in our county buildings and doing more for our energy efficient utilization throughout the county. So as far as the environment, that is definitively a priority. But I want to also address this one party rule thing that Ronald keeps coming back to. We are transparent. I never said that we argue that it's behind closed doors. Our budgets are online, our meetings are online, our budget hearings are online. We disagree publicly, we hash it out is the point, and we make sure that we come to the best result for our residents. When we had Republicans on the board, we did the same exact thing that we do now. We go through the same exact process. Not only are each of our colleagues, and I really resent the implication because I take this like financial stewardship and like a majorly serious responsibility. And I view the ultimate check and balance as being the public. We are mindful of that every single day. We go division by division, penny by penny, like, bullet by bullet, actually, as far as our expenses are concerned. And it is not behind closed doors. It is transparent, 1,000%.
Time is up. Mr. Walsh.
This is making me want to start a Twitter thread with the Stop Asian Hate hashtag. Whoa. Anyway, I'll tell you what, though. To answer the question about recycling, it's something that, an issue that's before me all the time on the Ramsey Environmental Commission. Certainly the answer is just to communicate that these opportunities are out there. And as if Steve says they're already communicating, this sounds simple, but communicate it better. I mean, naturally, you're going to get long lines if there's only one recycling event every once in a while in a county of 900,000 people. So I think this is another issue where we should be encouraging more buy-in from the towns. I'm aware of the Sustainable Jersey program, which is something that we've dealt with. Ramsey has, I believe we're up to, I think we have silver certification, or we were going for it the last I heard. Something as simple as getting more towns enrolled in Sustainable Jersey could lead to more recycling initiatives. From our end, again, just better communication and more opportunities for recycling could go do a world of good.
Mr. Tonelli, you may rebut only if it deals with recycling. That's the only issue that's out there on this question.
Never mind then.
I would also like to rebut on the.
Okay, but wait, Mr. Tonelli, is it on recycling?
I'm going to just correct two things, but that's okay. It's not specific.
No, you could do that in your 2-minute closing or another part at the next question, but it's only on recycling. The rebut is only on recycling.
Okay.
Mr. Lynn, did you want to say something about recycling?
I want to say that recycling is an important thing and everybody should recycle, but that would be under the premise that you have the money to buy the goods that you use which you then have to recycle. The fact of the matter is 35,000 people in this county don't have jobs, so they can't buy goods that they would have to recycle. So let's worry about those people that are unemployed first. Let's worry about those issues, about those kitchen table issues. They want to pay their bills. They want to be able to buy Coke cans that which they can then drink and then recycle. So let's worry about those people that are unemployed first. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Zur, just on recycling.
I can't comment on his unemployment comments.
No.
Right.
Has to be recycling.
As one who has sat on the Sustainable Jersey work group or their organics work group coming up with a master plan regarding food waste, and who's been working really hard with our municipalities on the different, we have so many towns who are registered with Sustainable Jersey, and recycling is something that happens on the county level as well as on the municipal level. And there's more partnership that needs to be done. Do we need to do more to get the word out? Absolutely. But we are constantly innovating and coming up with more creative ways to do more with less and save taxpayer dollars while providing the services that everyone needs.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to our last question from the public, and that question goes to Mr. Walsh first. And the question states, the League of Women Voters, as well as many people, believes that climate change is a serious threat facing our nation and our planet. Are there steps that Bergen County can take to lessen its carbon footprint to mitigate the effects climate change is already having on our environment, such as flooding and extreme weather events, and employ more renewable energy sources?
At the county level, all I can say is buy American. Don't go to any other countries, any of these other polluters for our infrastructure, for county resources. I don't know how much we deal with China. I hope it's zero. It would be under me. Just keep it American. We are one of the cleanest superpowers that exists on the planet today. There was a big to-do about how we withdrew from the Paris Climate Accord, but the fact is the US carbon emissions are already below the standards in that accord. So in my opinion, just, keeping it in-house, keeping it American, supporting our own industry is how we do it.
Thank you. Mr. Tonelli.
So the county's already started, and one of my earlier answers to the questions, we have already started the plan. We've already started increasing our electric car fleet. We've already put in charging stations. We are already thinking that way when we're dealing with our bus loop in building in Hackensack. So we know it's real. We are starting. We would like to get there. We're working with the prosecutor's office as well to work on what equipment he could possibly utilize, whether with vehicles, to also to get away from using fossil fuels and get more towards electric vehicles. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lynn.
Climate change is an issue, and it certainly is one, but I don't think that's the forefront. That's the issue that is on the forefront of most Bergen County residents. Okay, they care about how they're going to pay for their taxes. They care about how they're going to buy groceries. They care about how they're going to pay for their mortgages and for their rent. We should always, we should help, we should do everything that we can to make sure that these top issues are answered first. Steve mentioned these charging stations, right? I would like to know, though. I would like to note that most Bergen County residents don't have electric vehicles. So to kind of make the county build these charging stations is another type of wasteful spending. But the majority of citizens in our county drive normal cars, right? These EV stations are not only wasteful, but they're not necessary at this point. I'm sure in the future, as these cars are more out there, they will be needed more. But at this point in time, the people of Bergen County, we care about how to put food on the table, how to feed our kids, how to pay our mortgages, how to survive. So I think those are the issues we need to focus on first.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Zur.
First of all, I can tell you that my teenage kids are very worried about climate change and are very worried about what their future is going to look like. These electric vehicle stations were not built with a single county dollar. They were in a public-private partnership with Volta, where for their advertising, they built it for free. And so we have brought 40,000 free miles to Bergen County residents, incentivizing them to start utilizing electric vehicles, knowing that these charging stations are available. That has serviced over 3,000 customers and brought 17,000 pounds of CO2 emissions out of our environment. That's exactly the kind of forward thinking and innovation that we need to keep pushing forward. Thinking outside the box on how we solve the problems. It is not always out of the county pocketbook. You know, the reality is the other piece that we have done that I think is really notable is open space. We have provided so much support for open space projects, preserving green spaces in our county. We saw throughout this pandemic that open space was invaluable, not only for our mental health, but to give us a place to convene with our friends and neighbors and families in a way that was safe. But we have put a priority throughout this freeholder board and throughout this board of commissioners to prioritize the open space and make sure that we are putting more green space away to lower our overall carbon footprint. We're doing things like reducing, as I said, LED lighting, energy audits, transference of our fleet. I agree with you. We do need to get people back to work. That's why I sit on the Workforce Development Board, and we've used things like Coursera to give people opportunities to get additional certifications throughout this pandemic for free, and giving people training them to provide for the jobs that we need in our county. So we are actually can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Thank you. Okay, we're really running out of time, so I hope that you can do your rebuttal as part of your 2-minute closing statement, because we need to move on to the third part of our program this evening, which are the closing statements. Every candidate will have 2 minutes to make a closing remarks, and Ms. Zur, you're getting to go first.
Thank you so much. Tonight we covered a lot, but we barely scratched the surface. Anyone who knows me knows I could talk for like 12 hours on any one of these topics. So I'm sorry for speaking fast, but we had a lot to cover. You heard what Steve and I are all about: accountability, affordability, and efficiency. What you heard from our opponents is a real lack of understanding for the function of county government. For the past 9 years, Steve and I have innovated and pushed the envelope to meet unprecedented challenges. We on this board have been tested, especially in the last 18 months, and have risen to meet the needs of the community at every turn. As COVID forced us to navigate testing and vaccinations and PPE shortages and food insecurity and small businesses that were struggling, we were there supporting our neighbors, keeping our community safe, and providing all the vital services that our residents needed. We didn't miss a beat. And we have proven ourselves time and again by providing for our county without sacrificing financial stability. The last time Republicans held office at the county level, we saw cuts to education, veteran services, consumer affairs, and workforce development in the wake of a recession. We saw attempted cuts to mental health and efforts to sell our county hospital. All short-sighted moves that proved a lack of judgment, trying to balance the budget on the backs of those in need and gutting our future potential. As we look to the future of this, to have competent, capable, and compassionate leaders in government. How important it is to have people on this board of commissioners who look outside the box to innovate while having the needs of the residents so close to their heart. We've taken care of those who are struggling, but done so while strengthening our small businesses and supporting and training our workforce, investing in education, caring for our veterans, streamlining government through shared services, and finding greater efficiencies. In another term, Steve and I are going to continue to deliver effective government for our residents. Our opponents don't even really know where to begin. We've demonstrated time and time again an ability to solve problems, to use facts and data to engage stakeholders from all sectors to work together, and identified needs, visualizing solutions, and putting pieces together to make sense out of a puzzle to make a better reality. There's a lot of work to do, and I stand ready, willing, and eager to attack the challenges of our post-COVID reality with my homework done, my eyes, ears, and heart open to my neighbors throughout all 70 municipalities in Bergen County. Thank you so much for all those who are watching tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh.
My rebuttal is that electric cars run on coal, which is not much better than gasoline. My closing statement is thank you. This election is coming down to whether we move forward or stay in place, maintaining the status quo, whether we fix New Jersey's problems or continue to passively accept them, and whether we make Bergen the kind of place people want to move into or wave goodbye as they move out. The Democrats who control every county office, including all 7 seats on the Board of Commissioners, have set their course, or rather have not. I grew up in Bergen County. I work in Bergen County. I want to retire in Bergen County. I'd like to die in Bergen County. But that's becoming less and less possible for my generation. And it's not going to be unless we elect new leaders willing to set the tone by making Bergen the safest, friendliest, and most affordable county in the good old Garden State, New Jersey. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tonelli.
Thank you. First of all, I'd just like to recommend that you change your browser because Bergen County has the second lowest county property taxes in the state of New Jersey. I would again like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum this evening. Showed a dramatic contrast between proven leaders in Tracy and I, who have advocated for the residents of Bergen County, and the two individuals who do not grasp the complexity of county government. Our challengers want to bring back failed policies that we have spent 9 years to fix, cutting valuable senior services, veteran services, and $6.5 million from education, just for starters. Tracy and I have a history of working across the aisle for the betterment of the county. We worked hand in hand with Republican freeholders to save Bergen Newbridge and to realign the county police, which will save $200 million. Saving our hospital proved critical last year when Bergen County became the epicenter for COVID-19 pandemic. Having Bergen Newbridge Medical Center was critical in providing our residents with access to testing and easy access to vaccines. This administration has worked tirelessly to support our small businesses, which are the backbone of our local economy, which quickly mobilized and through the Bergen County Small Business Grant Program effectively gave out 3,500 businesses over $56 million in critical time. For many of them, that injection of money meant the difference between closing or keeping the lights on. With your support in the upcoming election, we look forward to continuing the progress made in the last 9 years, maintaining the county's AAA bond rating, the shared services with all the municipalities, and while fully funding critical programs such as senior services, veteran services, and education. So I ask for your support November 2nd, vote column 1 for Tracy and I, so that we can continue the great progress we have made. Thank you all for participating in tonight's forum. Good night.
Thank you. And Mr. Lynn, you get the last word.
Well, saying that Bergen County has the second lowest property taxes in New Jersey is not saying a lot when New Jersey has the highest property taxes in the entire country. So I don't think I have to change my browser, but look, Tracy said that I don't even know where to begin, and that's right, because currently what we have in county government is a mess. I don't know where to start. We don't have any oversight, and that's the overarching theme in this entire debate and this entire race. There's no oversight. You've been under one-party rule for the past 10 years, right? There's 7-0 freeholders on that board that are Democrats. Now, look, that's not good for any government, for any country. You don't need one party rule. That's not what this country was founded on. We're founded on a system of checks and balances. Let me tell you what happens under a one party rule. When there's one party rule, there is unchecked and wasteful spending. When there's one party rule, your budget goes up every single year. When there's one party rule, your taxes go up. And when there's one party rule, it results in 35,000 people that are unemployed in this county. Right now in Bergen County, our unemployment rate is at 7.4%. The state rate is at 7.2%, and the national rate is at 5.2%. So we're not doing good. We're not doing well. Despite what Tracy and Steve would like to have you think, we're not doing well. We are broken. Tracy likes to say that she likes to think outside the box, and that's all great. But while she's thinking outside the box, she's forgetting about the people that are in that box. Those 35,000 people that are unemployed are in that box, and they're not getting help. She's, we need to focus on the issues that Bergen County residents care about. We care about how to pay our mortgage, how to pay our rent, how to put food on the table, how to pay lower gases. Our gas prices are skyrocketing. That's all because of one party rule. Behind closed doors, we don't know what they do. If you haven't heard about this name, it's because of one party rule. Look it up tonight. Look up the name Tom Epper. He was a DPW county worker who died on the job on County Watch in 2018. This is a story that we haven't heard about because of one party rule, because of closed doors.
Thank you. Thank you. Barbara?
Thank you, everyone, for a very entertaining, informative forum. Thank you for your participation, candidates. Thank you, Lauren Dayton, for your timekeeping, and our marvelous Marlene Sincaglia for her tight reins on moderating this evening. I just want to remind everyone that you've all been informed there are 3 ways to vote in this election, but you have to choose one. There is still time to apply by mail for a vote by mail ballot, or you could go down to the county headquarters, appear in person, and ask for a vote by mail ballot. Early voting starts this Saturday at 9 locations in Bergen County. And you can also go on November 2nd between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. to your polling place that's listed on your sample ballot. If you are interested in reviewing this forum, a recording will be put up on a number of different sites, one of which is the League's online voter guideline, vote411.org. You can also find it a link on the League of Women Voters of Bergen County Facebook page, and also on the League of Women Voters of Bergen County website, along with the 3 prior forums that we held this past week. Once again, I want to thank everyone for participating and for our registrants and audience who are viewing, and I wish everyone a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so
Evening.
much.